Hello, Don here. Welcome to Podiatry Practice Mastery, where we're trying to help you bring your practice to the $1,000,000 mark and beyond in personal production. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about, this is a recording of a Friday. So on Fridays I usually have my routine care morning. So this is the best way that we found to do routine care. We just kind of pile them all in on a half day. So each doctor has a half day and there's no availability other time for routine care. It's not something that we focus too much on, and you could do that with anything that maybe is only profitable in bundles. You could do, in terms of, we used to do it like we had a laser where we rented a laser and we did warts a half day a week, so we had just tons of warts at that time. We've done that for ultrasound where I wanted to get better at ultrasound, so we just pack them all on the same day. And patients, they tend to adjust to our limitations, both in our schedule, in our time, and just say, this is the way we do things. You don't really have to explain much more than that. You just kind of say, this is the way we do things. But I want to kind of give a shout out to one of my staff. She was proactive, and she took some of my most common treatment sheets and she put them in like a folder in the treatment room, so I don't really have to print them out. They're right there. And I want to tell you the ones I use most frequently. Like, if you look at my treatment sheets, if you get them, it gets a little overwhelming. But the ones I use most commonly are plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendinitis, and then my wart one. Those are the kind of the three most common ones that I use, and my nail fungus one. So if you only have to pick four, I would do those four and just kind of start. I would just start using one of them if you don't use them. What I used to do is I used to do a presentation, and I've kind of changed things over time. It was a PowerPoint. But now I found that these treatment sheets make it a little bit easier, and it kind of goes over all the different treatment options for the patients, almost like a checklist, and they kind of go through it, and I say, this is just the way that works best for my patients. And it also, in there, it's able to upsell to other types of treatments. So I'm going to go over a few things that I've been working on. This is going to be a little bit eclectic, but let me kind of share the struggle that I've been having. I'm wanting to outsource some things, but not everything. And so I want to outsource Facebook eventually, but I'd like to kind of learn how to do it first. So to do that, I was looking for videos, right, to who explains it the best. And so I found a good video by a guy named Heath, and he's from I think he's from England, but little English accent, but he had a really good explanation for Facebook. And I'm like, after I watched that video, I was like, wow, okay, this kind of makes sense. Now I feel comfortable setting up my own Facebook ads. I still struggle a little bit with the creative. So the creative is the video or the image that you put out there. That doesn't come easy to me, but it's super easy to get someone on Fiverr to do it. And the other thing that I find really easy now is with ChatGPT. I get someone that I really respect, like there's a ChatGPT for Alex Hormozy, and then I kind of put in what type of ad that I want, and it makes it kind of interesting ad, or an ad that kind of demands someone to look at it and someone to get motivated by it. So that's just a little shout out to this gentleman named Ben Heath for Facebook ads. So I watched the video. I was kind of doing it in between when I had some time between patients, and I've realized like a lot of these things that I talk about, I think the reason I'm able to do this, and I wasn't able to do it in the past, is because of my Scribe. A lot of people are kind of poo-pooing Scribes and say AI is just like a Scribe, but I think the Scribe really just frees me up a lot, because I don't like to spend time nights and weekends on business, so I try to make the most effective use of the time, either between patients or before or after my day, so I don't have to do that. Okay, so that was one thing. I am going to go over another thing today. Is I had a couple of patients recently that were here as second and third and like fifth opinions, and I want to talk about that. I think they came not so much from a referral locally, but they came because they looked online. And there was one gentleman that found on Facebook, actually he was on YouTube, about Shockwave, and he came in. He had seen like 4 or 5 other people, And the reason he chose our office was because we talked about focused and not just radial shockwave. There was another doctor that was going to do just radial. That's all they had to offer, and we had focused and radial. And I do think focused works better. He had like a second metatarsal head capsulitis / plantar plate issue, negative on MRI, really wasn't getting better. So that's why he chose us to do this. Okay. Another patient came. They had kind of an enlarged navicular tuberosity, a child 15-year-old with his parents. And they had seen another podiatrist locally who got them orthotics. And this has happened to me before. I think the orthotic rubbed on the navicular bump, and they had to send the orthotics back. And then the patients, their perception was that they kind of got ghosted by this doctor. So the doctor never followed up. Orthotics never came back in, or maybe it took too long. So I think these types of things has probably happened to me as well, where I say I'm going to do something and it takes longer. So, but I think communication is key. Like I tried to say, hey, you just go back. This happens to me as well. Modify the orthotics. And this is a kind of a positioning way that I always position this when I'm seeing second, third, and fourth opinions. Is I'm like, I don't expect to be much better than any of these other ones. You saw very skilled doctors. I just try to think a little bit outside of the box. And for two of these, I put them in cam boots, and they'd seen a lot of other people and never been placed in a cam boot. That doesn't really seem like thinking outside the box to me, but it's maybe they weren't ready to be mobilized before. So those are just some things about when you're seeing, or when I'm seeing second opinions. Those are some of the things that I do. Okay, let's get into the day, and then I'm going to end with my application of setting up a money model for my practice. So I'm going to talk, this is a theme that I learned from Alex Hormozy, and there's a cool ChatGPT bot where I was kind of at my kids' taekwondo, and I was like chatting with this thing and trying to develop this money model. And I want to share, this is like kind of version 1 of this money model, but let me just go over the day. So first patient, or I'm not going to go over the morning with the routine care. I'm going to go over the other ones in the afternoon. So the 73-year-old for nail care, had some neuritis, did an office visit, and I recommended Lems. Lems are the shoes that we sell in our office. We don't sell a ton of them, basically because we don't have a huge stock of them. I think we could do more if we kept a bigger stock, but it's hard to be retail carrying all that stock and having it all ordered. But so I just recommended them. There's like 1 or 2 sizes of each one. Next was a matrix follow-up, so that was just a really low office visit. 84-year-old man for routine. He had nails and calluses in an office visit. So even though routine care are showing up on my afternoon, it's because like if they're new patients, they can come in other days of the week if they're new patients. If they're follow-up routine, we only put them in that half-day slot, but other days they can come in. Next was my 59-year-old man. He's a 6 out of 6 for Shockwave. He did an office visit because the last Shockwave I always do an office visit. And he is starting to actually feel better already, so I'm pleased about that. He's going to come back in 6 weeks. Next was a 75-year-old female. She had a left callus that was painful. Did an X-ray for those, and then nail care. So this is something this is the way we've trained our staff. So if someone has a painful callus, we'll get X-rays on that, because a lot of times it can be from the biomechanics that we see on the X-ray. Whereas a lot of other, I think, doctors, they just don't do as many X-rays. But I think it's always better to overdo X-rays than underdo X-rays. So in case they do it, and I don't think it's appropriate, I might not bill for it, but actually that's really never happened, because usually you can there's a reason, there's like some type of foot pain that they're doing it for. Next was a 65-year-old female. On the right side, she had plantar fasciitis, so she got the Pelto special, night splint, foam rolling, and morning stretch. And on the left side had hallux limitus, so I was teaching her about hallux limitus and kind of preparing them for the future for orthotics, depending on how she's doing. 65-year-old female, again, with an ingrown toenail, and she actually came in, she's referred to me from one of my colleagues to do Onifix on her. This was actually for the ingrown toenail, and it has to be flatter at the base, the proximal base of the nail, and more curved in distally. And so we did that for her. She also had some plantar fasciitis on the left side, so I started her with foam rolling and the morning stretch. She already had her own night splint, and she's going to come back whenever the Onifix falls off. Next was a cantharidin for a wart, a 63-year-old female. Next was a 58-year-old female for a left matrixectomy. Follow-up on the fifth toe, which isn't that common, but this is one of those like fifth toe things that crack, and I just took off part of the nail. It has a little longitudinal crack in it. Then the last patient was that navicular orthotic patient that navicular tuberosity pain on x-rays, and they had seen another doctor, and they'd come to see us here. Basically, we talked to them about orthotics and about the posterior tibial tendon, and then if that doesn't get better, I find this works well with Shockwave. So Shockwave to kind of calm down. But I think it did calm down over time. This kid's a soccer player and in like cleats, and I think now that and it hurt him more when he was in soccer cleats and basketball, pushing off. But now he is doing better. Okay, now as I was talking about, this is what Alex Hormozi talked about, like a money model. Now this is something we don't learn about in podiatry, but I'm kind of interested in it. So he talks about you have to have different phases. So I'm going to walk you through how this would look in a podiatry practice. So number one, you have to have an attraction offer. So you need to get someone in the door. So if you've been listening to things that I've said, what my main attraction offer is, you can attract by a lot of things. Some people attract with, you look at dentists, they'll give a free appointment and x-rays. You can look at a chiropractor, they might give a free adjustment. You might look at a gym, they'll give you a free week of classes, or a free taekwondo for a week, or something else like that. My partner, and I guess we don't really want to devalue our product, right? We don't want to devalue our clinic, so we're not much into offering free things. So if you can't compete on free, you can compete on speed, and that's what we've determined is the best way for us to compete, because we don't want to like say, hey, come in for a free visit, because that'll kind of discount what we're offering. If it's working for other people, I'd love to know, but we're not doing it that way. So what we found works better is we're going to do speed. So one of the primary, we call it hooks, is like urgent care patients seen in 15 minutes or your copay back. Now we have a hard time doing that because we can't see them in 15 minutes, so this is the one that we use. Guaranteed appointment in 48 hours or you get your copay back. Adding the copay back thing kind of makes it more of a guarantee, and it puts a little sting if you can't get them in 48 hours. Now for the most part we can now, because we have a newer doctor in the office. I think that might change in the future. So an idea for an ad would be foot pain, skip the ER and the wait, guaranteed podiatry appointments in under 48 hours or your copay is refunded, and then insurance accepted. So that is the offer. That's the offer to kind of get patients in. I'm working on a couple of different ads for that, and that's kind of pushing to our urgent care page. That's how we're getting in. That seems like the best type of an ad at this point right now for us, versus like a free offer. And like another offer could be, hey, we'll see you for free, and then we'll free appointment. But it's always confusing there, because like what I find confusing is, okay, the free, we might get Medicaid patients which we don't accept anywhere. We could do anyway for free. But then we also get these other appointments for Blue Cross Blue Shield. We could offer it for free, I guess. There's no problem, but they have insurance, so we might as well bill their insurance. So I don't know how to word it, like offering it for free. You could offer a free gift. I've thought about that as well, like free gift for all new patients or something like that. But I haven't quite figured out. So I think the speed component with the urgent care is going to be a little bit easier for us to service. Okay. Next is he calls step 2, which is a menu upsell sheet. So the menu upsell sheet is what I call my treatment sheets. Okay. He calls it different. So basically a treatment sheet has all the different types of treatments, and I go through there and I kind of prescribe what is recommended for the patient. The only difference which Alex recommended that's a little bit different from what I do, and I haven't quite figured out how to do it, is he recommended doing kind of like a basic relief, advanced relief, and then like a regenerative package. So let me explain these. And I haven't had the courage to put this out, but so basically it would be like a kind of a sheet, and it wouldn't have everything on there. It would have like a basic thing, and it would have like 3 columns, like a basic, advanced, and like a regenerative. But it's basically, it's really similar to what I do. So the basic one would be exam and x-ray, anti-inflammatories and contrast baths, stretching splint, foam rolling, and morning stretch, and then shoe recommendations. So this is for some patients that only have equinus, they get better with this. And this would be kind of the basic one, which the people that have equinus and they don't have anything else, and maybe I would add on there like an ultrasound, but that would be a second component, which is called an upsell he talks about. So I'll get to there. The advanced package, which is the most popular, which really is the most popular for what I do, it's everything in the basic, and then they get a full 6 sessions of Shockwave therapy. And he added in here a compression sleeve. I don't do a lot of compression sleeves. And then he added in here follow-up ultrasound. And then the last package would be the Regenerative VIP package. So the other one was $1,500. This one is $3,600. And this one is everything in advanced. They get stem cell injection. And I like this aspect he added in here, priority access appointments for 3 months. So if they're going to do the VIP, you can give them priority access for those because they're dropping so much. And then he had some optional add-ons, which I kind of like. So when you offer one thing, not everyone needs an orthotic, but I think an add-on for an orthotic is good versus everyone needing an orthotic. I don't think everyone needs an orthotic, but based on the ultrasound thing, everyone does need Shockwave. We're talking plantar fasciitis here. Okay, so add-on would be an orthotic, and then you could an add-on would be like an upsell, right? So add-on would be like an orthotic. Add-on for me a lot of times would be like a ultrasound would be kind of an add-on based on the type of symptoms that they're having. Add-ons are anything that you add on that you're going to offer the patient. Now, if they say no to the main package, right? Then he talks about downsells. So how you take a downsell is you and I know we're not sales. We think of downsells as like a shady term, but it's just really just explaining things to patients. So, for example, if patients come in and they need the Shockwave, a lot of times my downsell is, okay, we'll try this other stuff for 2 or 3 weeks. Night splint, foam rolling, morning stretch, new shoes, things like that. And if you're not getting better, then we'll reassess you with an ultrasound. What really helps me is the ultrasound because I can show them physically how there's thickened fascia in one side and less thick on the other side. And that really helps me out. But I'm okay with waiting 2 or 3 weeks if they're okay waiting 2 or 3 weeks. But it just delays the improvement. What he talks about then when they come back, if they're not ready, then you can do the following. You can say, okay, if that's too much, that $1,500, because you can pay as you go. So you can pay. I think for me it's like $250 a session for the Shockwave. If that's still too hard, they can use CareCredit. And then sometimes if they're not ready to do the Shockwave, you can, instead of doing 6, you can do 3. I haven't really thought about this as a downsell, but it kind of is. So if they're not ready, what I used to do is I used to do 3 sessions of Shockwave, a 6-week break where they went to PT, and then another 3 if needed. So you could actually do 3 as a downsell. The problem is if you're doing that 3, you kind of get used to that, and you're not really offering what really gets them better. What I find really gets them better is 6. And so sometimes it was a cop-out when I went down to 3 for the patients. So just kind of talking to you how this works, okay? So that's how you do. So if they say no to that big one, you could offer these other things. Another thing you could do for a downsell, I had a patient the other day. They weren't ready for Shockwave, but they did have a very pronated foot, and they wanted to do a downsell as an orthotic. So I think downsell as an orthotic is another way of doing that, okay? Next, he talks about continuity. This is something I really haven't figured out yet. I know some people, they have these continuity, like laser things, so much a month, and you can get laser treatments for like MLS laser or nail fungus laser and things like that. The one that I like is the one of priority access. I think that is, for my type of patients, going to be better, so you can give them priority, guaranteed 48-hour appointments. You can add discounts for different types of things, and then you can add like a private VIP phone number where they can get access to us 24 hours a day. We already have this, but I'm just adding it in as something that they're aware of, that they can get this priority access. And this priority access membership, you can do it like $29 a month, or you could just do it for a year. The problem with priority access, in my opinion, is that once their pain goes away, they're not going to be really motivated to have the priority access anymore to see us. Maybe like a routine patient would want that. What I like about priority access is that if they do the higher package of actually including it in. So, for example, if they did the amnio injection, I'm okay giving them priority access for 3 months so they can get whatever appointment they want because they're spending so much for these things. And also the priority access, I like the idea of, instead of just giving the 10% discount for everyone if they prepay, you could add that to the priority access. So if you get this priority access, you can get 10% off all these treatments. So that would be a way of doing this. So I just wanted to kind of share this with you. This is something that I did with probably in about 10 minutes with one of these apps. If you use ChatGPT, you can look at, there's different like chat bots. In one of them, you put in Alex Hormozi, and it has this book called Money Models. So this is something I'm still kind of working on for it. But as I continue to develop it and kind of try it out, I think subconsciously a lot of these things we are always doing anyway. Like the whole idea of developing a package. You have a basic package that you have for patients. You have more of like an advanced package. I think a lot of us don't have a high-end package because, for example, patients will ask me, do I really need amnio? And I'm not totally sold on it. And that's where, for a lot of my patients, I say, no, I think Shockwave is sufficient for them. I don't think everyone does need amnio. But there are certain people that want everything. They want everything to get them better, and they don't care about price. And that's the same thing when you go to like a ice cream store. There's some people that want the biggest, baddest ice cream that's available, and I think that's just the way humans are. So it's just a way of kind of thinking about it, that we have to have a higher end offer for some of these patients that want to do everything. I feel, though, with the type of amnio that I have to be more sold. I have to believe that it's going to make a big difference than just the Shockwave by itself, because I feel like I get so many good results with just a Shockwave. Anyway, hope you guys found this beneficial. Let me know what your thoughts are, what's working for you in your office. Once in a while I get these emails. People tell me, hey, this is working for me. You could share this with others. I think that's the best thing about this podcast, is helping others. And also, if you like this, find it beneficial, please share it with someone else. I'd love this thing to grow so we can help others to do better in their practice. Okay, talk to you tomorrow.